Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, will you please take roll?
Assembly members Anderson, Carter, present. Cole, Hardy, Howdigi, Kasama, Miller, Monroe Moreno, O'Neill, Roth, Torres Fawcett, Yeager, Urick, Chair Marzola.
And I am here. Please mark members present once they arrive. Welcome everyone that is here with us in Carson City today, those tuning in over the internet and those in our Las Vegas facility. Today we will hear three bills: Assembly Bill 200, Assembly Bill 388, and Assembly Bill 466. I will also be conducting a work session. I will not be taking the Assembly bills in order. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. Members of the public can provide testimony in various ways, which are all listed on the agenda. When testifying, please remember to turn on your microphone to speak and off to listen. Also remember to please state and spell your name for the record. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. Committee information is available on Nellis, which can be accessed through the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings through Nellis or the legislature's YouTube channel. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes so that everyone can be accommodated. As you can see, we do have a full house today, so I want to try my best to let everybody testify if they are here. As always, I expect courtesy and respect in all our interactions, even if we may not agree. Finally, please remember to turn off or silence all of your electronic devices, especially your cell phones. And with that, we will move to our first Assembly Bill 466. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 466. This measure revises certain notice requirements imposed on an insurer who issues a policy of portable electronic insurance. Assembly member, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, and my esteemed colleagues on the committee. One of my goals is to make this the shortest bill presentation that you will hear from me this entire session so that you like me again. So with that said, it is basically a bill on notification, and Jesse Wadhams, I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter.
Appreciate that, Member Kasama. Jesse Wadhams with Black & Wadhams on behalf of Assurian today. That's Jesse Wadhams. I will endeavor to keep this as short as the bill is. This bill actually just literally cleans up and modernizes notification for cell phone insurance providers. What has happened over the course of time is that cell phone insurance chapter was created before the Division of Insurance created their e-notification law. And so now we have an anachronism of a situation where when you purchase your cell phone insurance through your cell phone, you still have to get notifications from the cell phone insurance provider via the United States Post Office. So we would simply like to update that law to sync up how you get notifications from your cell phone insurance carrier to modernize and let them do e-notifications. I am happy to walk through the bill, which is one line on in section 1 at subsection 6. B, except as otherwise provided in NRS 680A 560, which is the notification by insurers in electronic situations, you will notify pursuant to current law. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any questions? I don't see any. So we will move to testimony in support. If you want to move back so I can, thank you. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 466? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Testify in support for Assembly Bill 466. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
We will move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 466. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that wishes to testify in opposition? Is there anyone in Carson City that wishes to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 466, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 466? You're a staple in our committee. You should just join the committee members. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Adam Plain, P-L-A-I-N, with the Nevada Division of Insurance. In the spirit of the bill and the presentation, we're good with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 466, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. Assembly member, would you like to give final remarks?
I don't think I formally said my name, Assemblymember Heidi Kasama for District 2, so it is on the record now, and I appreciate all of your time during this long bill hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for keeping your presentation short. And I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 466. 1 minute recess. Committee will come back to order. I will now open our session for a work session. It is not customary for the committee to take testimony or otherwise rehear a bill during a work session. However, I may invite a witness to come forward for clarification or questions during our consideration of a measure. We will start with Assembly Bill 56.
Assembly Bill 56 revises provisions relating to the licensing of certain providers of health care sponsored on behalf of the Board of Medical Examiners, heard on February 10th, and the amendments are listed on the bill page.
Members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 56. So moved. I have a first from Assemblymember Miller, a second from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Roth. Next is Assembly Bill 318.
Assembly Bill 318 revises provisions relating to captive insurers, sponsored by Assemblymember Hardy, heard March 21st, and there are 3 proposed amendments on the bill page.
Committee members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 318. I have a first from Assemblymember Miller, a second from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Is there any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hardy. Next is Assembly Bill 407.
Assembly Bill 407 enacts provisions relating to the repair of certain devices, sponsored by Assemblymember Brown May, heard on March 31st, and the amendments are listed on the bill page.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 407. I have a first from Assemblymember Miller, a second from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Is there any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Brown May. Our last work session bill is Assembly Bill 450.
Assembly Bill 450 revised requirements to obtain a license as a marriage and family therapist or clinical professional counselor by endorsement, sponsored by Assemblymember Marzola, heard on March 31st, and there are 2 proposed amendments on the bill page.
Members, are there any questions on Assembly Bill 450? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a first from Assemblymember Miller, a second from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Is there any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I'll assign that floor statement to myself. And that concludes our work session for today. 1 minute recess. Committee will come back to order. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 200. This measure revises provisions relating to industrial insurance. And welcome. While you guys are getting ready, I just want to set the lay of the land today. For the next two bills, I am going to limit testimony. I am going to give 30 minutes in support, 30 minutes in opposition, and 30 minutes in neutral, which means 10 minutes here in Carson City, 10 minutes in Las Vegas, and 10 minutes over the phone lines. You may begin when you're ready.
Well, thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the Committee on Commerce and Labor. I finally get to see all of you in action. I love it. For the record, I am Assembly Member Venice Karras, honored to represent Assembly District 10. I am joined by my co-presenter, Greg Esposito. Both of us have spent many years as tradesmen in the construction industry. Myself as a proud member of IBEW Local 357, and Greg also proud to be a member of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 525. The bill we bring before you today is AB 200, which deals with changes to workers' compensation for construction workers. We are bringing forward a more equitable method of compensation to have a positive impact on the well-being and financial security of workers in an industry known for its physical risks. Workers' compensation currently provides for a state average of 66 2/3% of a worker's income. But in reality, for the trades, compensation is closer to 40%. This substantial difference creates undue financial hardship for injured workers, causing depleted savings, foreclosed homes, and disrupted families. Workers compelled to return to work sooner than medically sound, and many workers do not report injuries and work injured rather than risk financial ruin. I will now turn it over to my co-presenter, Greg Esposito, to provide a more in-depth look into this life-changing issue.
Greg Esposito, representing the Nevada State Pipe Trades. Truly appreciate your time today, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, and I appreciate the Assemblywoman having worked with me on this bill and this important issue. Just right after the last legislative session, my boss came to me and said, hey, we have members who are getting injured, and then they're hitting a financial hardship because workers' compensation isn't covering the bills. And workers' compensation is sort of an understanding that when you enter the construction trades, if you get hurt, there's going to be an insurance policy there for you. There's going to be something there for you that, if something happens, you're going to be okay. But as the Assemblywoman said, what's happening is members are bumping up against that cap. So 66 2/3% of a worker's wage is pretty much a nationwide standard. And in most states, there's also this state average wage, this maximum that can be considered to calculate a worker's compensation rate. Some states have different laws. Many states have different laws. There's quite the rabbit hole you can dive into. But what's happening here in Nevada, especially in Clark and Washoe counties, when workers are averaging out anywhere from $150,000 to $175,000 a year, having their wages capped at $101,000 a year for this year limits or reduces what they really get if and when they get injured. As it says in the handout that's on Nellis, in the most extreme case, as low as 30%. So instead of receiving 66 2/3, they're really only receiving 30% of their wage. And on average, they're only receiving 42, 43% of their wage. We all have bills. We all set our finances up to match what our income is. Even if you consider 10% savings, none of us, nobody in this room can last for long on 40% of their wage. And it's an unnecessary hurdle. It's an unnecessary standard. I did the best research I could. This state average wage got put into statute back in 1917. It got defined in 1973. And from best I can tell from the experts that I've talked to, It was put into place because the state used to run the workers' compensation program. All states across the country used to have their own. But sometime in the beginning of the 90s, early 90s, that changed. And all of the workers' compensation went private across the country, slowly and surely. So this maximum average wage was put into place in order to protect the state. This way they knew how much they may have to pay out if somebody got injured. But now that insurance is private, while it keeps insurance costs down, it also keeps the benefits to workers down artificially. And so this bill proposes to, for construction workers, change the formula to where instead of looking at the state's average maximum wage, it will look at the prevailing wage. I won't go through all of the examples that we've written up on page 2 of what's on Nellis, but there are 6 examples given that go through the numbers of what exactly would happen in each scenario. Right now, the formula caps the wages. If you make less than 101,000, everything stays the same. If you make more than the state average, then your compensation, your allowed compensation goes up. There's really no better way to say it than that. Let me just go over the proposed amendments very quickly, please. Page 2, Section 3, we were asked to redefine what a construction worker is. Instead of using referencing NRS 618, we're going to reference NRS 338. We're going to, on page 3, Section 5, we're going to take out the administrator creating regulations for this. This way it can actually be enacted in a timely manner. And then in Section 6, it begins the biggest change that we're making. When it came out of drafting from LCB, they had the phrase in there, the greater of. Well, that doesn't mathematically work out. You can't do that. You can't insure a Honda for the rate of a Lamborghini. And so we had to rewrite it to where throughout the bill, for an injured employee who is a construction worker, the lesser of either their earned wage or the greater of the average monthly wage or the average monthly prevailing wage. And once again, all those math formulas that are on page 2 sort of explain and go through that math. I don't want to burden the committee listening to the math problem that it solves. And then changing the effective date. Page 19, Section 12 changes the effective date to give the insurance industry a little bit more lead time to put this into effect. More than willing to answer questions. I appreciate everyone on the committee having met with me to allow me to explain what we're trying to accomplish. As the Assemblywoman said, we're trying to put more money in the hands of injured workers. We're trying to put more money in the hands of injured workers to make it more in line with what they would have made if they were making the true 66 2/3% that state statute intends for them. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the other side of the scale. If you give more money to workers, what's it going to do? It's going to cost the contractors more money. So this bill, there's no doubt in my mind, this bill will increase the workers' compensation premiums that a contractor has to pay. And it's just a matter of whether or not it's an acceptable amount. We had reached what this would do to our workers' comp insurance rates, and they weren't able to respond to us in a timely manner. I will let you know that Nevada has right around the average workers' compensation rates, where we typically pay around 84 cents per $100 of payroll, and that's right there in the middle. Texas has the lowest at 41 cents, and Wyoming has the highest at $1.83. But I'll note that Wyoming pays 100% of a person's wage if they get injured for a period of time. That's why their premiums are so high. And so it's worth noting that if this were to go forward, and if it's taken that our average workers' comp is 84 cents per $100, it would probably jump it up, nowhere near Wyoming's, who pays 100%, not just 66 2/3. I know I just threw a lot of numbers at you. It makes perfect sense in my head. I apologize if it doesn't make any sense in yours, but I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have.
Does that end your presentation? Okay, perfect. Committee members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Carter.
See if this works any better today than yesterday. Thank you. So you gave me flashbacks here. 1972, my father, an electrician, was hurt in the tunnels up at the test site. And because it was in 1972 and when it was locked, we ended up on food stamps and on Medicaid because it wasn't enough to to even look at trying to subsidize what he had lost. My question is when, and I think you answered part of it, when did we come into the current system, which was 73, I assume? And how often and when was the last time the cap has been adjusted?
Greg Esposito for the record. The cap is adjusted every year. Every year, the Division of Industrial Relations gets the state average wage from DETR. They multiply that number by 1.5, and then that's the cap. And so every year, DIR reassesses, but it takes into account everybody, every non-farm worker, from accountants to paralegals to kitchen workers. And given that we know construction workers, we know what they make by prevailing wage, we're always making above that cap, at least in Clark and Washoe counties. So it's adjusted every year, but it's always far, far below what a construction worker makes.
I have a quick question before I pass it to the next Assembly member. How many other states have passed legislation such as this?
Greg Esposito for the record, none. We would be the first. In my research, first of all, let me say, everything I'm saying is as far as the best I know. You have a member here who probably tell you far more. But while every state is different, we would be the only ones that would look at the construction trades as a separate math equation.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. And actually, your question then creates another question, if possible. And I'm not sure if you can answer it, if it can be answered and through our attorneys. Because of creating that other class, so to say, does this come into any sort of concerns around constitutionality and whether or not it creates other problems?
Assemblymember Venice Karas for the record. Being that I'm not a lawyer, Chair, I would love to refer this to legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sam Quast, Committee Counsel. So whenever you're creating, whatever the law treats different people differently and creating separate classes or whatever, you're potentially running into issues under the Equal Protection Clause. However, when the classifications don't involve a suspect class or a fundamental right, you would be subject to rational basis review, and that's a very low bar, and we believe that this classification system would be defensible.
Assemblymember Cole.
Thank you very much, Chair. So my question is on page 3, and it might be in other places too, but as I understand it, what the attempt here is to have the prevailing wage be the governing factor when it comes to the calculation of the average wage, right? Regardless of whether or not it's a construction worker that's employed by a non-union shop who is not doing public works jobs. So can you just, I guess, answer if I'm correct on that, and then the rationale behind that? Thank you.
Assemblymember Venice Karas for the record. I'm going to start this. Greg will probably finish it. But just so you know, when people read this bill, they think we're going for everyone getting the prevailing wage. We know in the construction trades that there is a vast range of incomes, and that's why the greater than is no longer in there. It is basically going to be the prevailing wage or whatever your wage is. And the idea of using the prevailing wage is because we actually have our labor commissioner that provides the number. We actually don't have to have the state provide any committee to make a study and do the calculations. For the trades, it's already there through the prevailing wage work that is done in the state. So we just use that as a guideline, but by no means does it mean that you would be getting the prevailing wage if that's not what your normal wage is.
Greg Esposito, if I may follow up, the very first thing you said, what this bill is, it's trying to set a new ceiling, a new maximum amount. Instead of it being the state average wage, it would be the prevailing wage. And so if somebody makes any amount less than that prevailing wage, it would look at what they actually make. Instead of being capped at here, it could be anywhere up to the new ceiling, which is the prevailing wage. And so to best answer your question, the reason it's not just on prevailing wage work is because that's not the intention. It's not, if you're not on a prevailing wage job and making less, it just goes to your actual wage.
Committee members, are there any additional questions? Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you for the presentation. And I think it might be a follow-up to my colleagues, but I'm looking at Section 5, 2A. And I guess it'd be the last section there where it says, in which that construction worker was employed on the date of the accident or injury, regardless of whether the construction worker was employed on a public work. So it could be, to follow up, I guess, it could be a carpenter that is not getting prevailing wage, is not involved with public works, just with a private contractor, and strictly looking at his wages in that private construction company scenario.
Greg Esposito, yes, that's exactly correct. It just looks at the worker's wages, not at what type of job they were on, if they were earning prevailing wage at the time or not. Like I said, it just sets a new ceiling, a more market reflective ceiling.
Thank you for helping me understand better. Thank you.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. So we will move to support testimony of Assembly Bill 200. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You each have 2 minutes.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis, President, Communication Workers of America, Local 9413, MARC-ELLIS. We support the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. For the record, Maria Teresa Hank, and we support the bill as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Susie Martinez, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada State AFL-CIO, and we are in full support of the bill. Thank you.
Good. My name is Al Rojas. I live in Senate District 21. I support the bill. We got to protect our construction workers. We can't have people losing their homes, especially, I don't know how many construction workers are homeless, but, we can't have people losing their homes. This is crazy. Thank you.
Ross Kinson, Northern Nevada Central Labor Council and Teamsters Local 533. On behalf of my members and behalf of the Northern Nevada Central Labor Council, yeah, we're in full support of this bill. It's just a common sense thing. It makes sense. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Cassie Charles on behalf of AFSCME. We are in support of this policy alongside our labor brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Richmond Warnicke with SEIU 1107. We're in support of the bill.
Hello, committee chair and committee. My name is Alfonso Lopez. I represent the sheet metal and air rail transportation workers, and we are also in support of this bill. Thank you.
Frankie Jimenez, Business Manager of Ironworkers Local 416, here in support of this bill.
Hello, my name is Sarai Santos. I'm with Workers United, and on behalf of our workers, we're in support of this bill.
Gabe Christensen, CHRISTENSON, State Legislative Director for Smart TD, and we support this bill.
Good afternoon, Tamara Jameson, Teamsters Local 14. We also support this bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Beverly Williams with the Southern Nevada Central Labor Council and Teamsters Local 986. We're in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Vidal Zambrano, Iron Workers Local 416, and I am in support of this bill.
Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. To provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 200, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 772. You are unmuted. Please begin when ready. Again, caller ending in 772. You are unmuted on our end. Please proceed. Chair, it does not appear this caller is able to speak at the moment. Would you like to proceed and move forward?
Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Ruiz, RENEE RUIZ. I represent National Nurses United, National Nurses Organizing Committee of Nevada, and we representing the interest of 3,000 plus RNs in the state of Nevada. And we also support this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Good afternoon, committee. For the record, my name is Wendy Colborn. I'm with the Building and Construction Trades Council of Northern Nevada, and we are also in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 197, please press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin when ready. Chair, it appears our last caller is not able to unmute and speak. Would you like to proceed and move forward?
Please.
All right, there are no additional callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. We'll move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 200. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify?
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mac Bybee. I'm with the Associated Builders and Contractors. I'd like to thank Assemblymember Karras for her meeting last week. I think our biggest concern is what this will do to the workers' compensation market for construction companies. Those data points aren't available, and it's really not from lack of effort from the bill's sponsor. It's just information we just don't have right now. And it's not as simple as just premiums going up, which is clearly what would happen, but price points for construction projects go up for materials, wages. So collectively, when projects get more expensive, less work gets done. And so, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, Miranda Hoover with 3C House, representing the National Electrical Contractor Association, Northern Nevada Division. We also want to greatly thank the sponsor and Mr. Esposito for the amount of time that they have taken to engage stakeholders and all of the questions that they have answered thus far. And while we can respect what this bill is trying to achieve, there are still too many unknowns. And similar to Mr. Bybee, we're waiting on some of those numbers from different insurance councils, but at this time we are opposed, and thank you for your time.
Hello, Josh Hicks with McDonald Carano. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Home Builders Association. This is a statewide home building advocacy organization governed by the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association and the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. Home building projects are not subject to prevailing wage. They're not public works, but as noted in the opening testimony, this bill is going to apply to them as well. There are a lot of costs that go into building a home. There's land, there's materials, there's labor. There's a lot of intangible costs as well. Litigation costs, permitting costs, and insurance costs. All of those costs end up rolling into the price of the home at the end of the day. So we constantly caution against bills that will increase costs in any of those areas because they ultimately will result in higher home prices, which we're trying to keep as affordable and attainable as possible. The issue with this bill is obviously the workers' compensation piece. Either as introduced or as amended, it will increase workers' compensation policy costs for contractors. That will ultimately flow into the price of the home and increase the price of the home. So we are opposed to it for that reason. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Murak from the Vegas Chamber. First Chamber would like to thank the bill sponsor and Greg Esposito for reaching out to our organization to discuss this bill with us. Unfortunately, the Chamber is still opposed to the bill on the premise it would create a bifurcated workers' comp structure and the cost it would incur within the system. So that is our opposition today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors, representing commercial construction in Northern Nevada. And we too sincerely appreciate the dialogue that we've had with the sponsor and with Mr. Esposito on this bill. Unfortunately, without knowing what this would do to premiums, we are opposed at this time, but commit to continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Marzola, committee members, Misty Grimmer, GRIMMER, representing the Nevada Resort Association. We've been looking at this bill the entire time and had some conversations with the proponents of the bill. Part of our concern, all of our licensees are also contracting, also have contractors' licenses, and so there's some confusion about whether our employees that do these projects on site may fall under the provisions of this bill. And we also, like other people, would like to get more information about what the potential cost increases could be for this change. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capurro here on behalf of the Nevada Subcontractors Association. Want to echo all of the comments given previously, and I'd also say want to thank the sponsor for meeting with us as well to talk through this. But even as amended, we are still concerned that using the prevailing wage rate in the calculation of average monthly wage calculation, regardless of whether the employee has ever worked on a prevailing wage project, such as housing, which is where most of our members are, would cause an increase in insurance premiums for our subs. So, ultimately, we'd love to continue the conversation, but as drafted and as amended, we still have concerns.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Brian Reeder speaking on behalf of the Nevada Contractors Association. I don't want to repeat anything that's already been said. We want to thank Mr. Esposito and the bill sponsor for trying to work with us, but also opposed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I see that you are seated in Las Vegas. You may begin when you're ready. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good morning, Chair Marzola, members of the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is Anahit Baghshetsan. For the record, that is ANAHITBAGHSHETSYN, and I'm a research assistant at Nevada Policy. Nevada Policy today is in strong opposition of AB 200 because, as we heard today, it would include calculation, including prevailing wages, into the determining of workers' compensation. We heard great testimonies before me of how it's going to inflate the cost. So I'm going to try to put it in more of a research and statistics context to paint a broader picture. But prevailing wages in Nevada, there have been 45% above the market average rates due to the regulatory requirements on the public work projects that already exists. So for a simple comparison, let's take a profession of a roofer. Roofers under the Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, their average market wage is $18.62. The prevailing wage for the same position in Clark County was $31 and $41 in Washoe County. If you'd like to refer to more research and more positions, please feel free to do so for the exhibit that was submitted to the committee. But I think it is evident how much the costs could become inflated if this legislation is passed. And while construction costs and housing costs would be affected, as a result, businesses would also be affecting their hiring decisions and labor-related decisions. So once again, the employers that this bill is trying to protect could effectively be the ones negatively affected by this bill. So tying compensation calculations to prevailing wage rates, which are determined by government surveys and not market rates, is not the way to go when trying to stabilize a market. For these reasons, we're urging the committee to oppose the bill today. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for your time. My name is Jordan Cranebuell. I'm the Executive Director of the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of Nevada. I'm going to speak to the bill itself. I have not seen, I couldn't find it on Nellis. I haven't seen the amendment, but obviously the concern is prevailing wage versus the actual wage was a big concern of ours, and then also the insurance premiums and how that's going to work. And obviously, as stated by the rest of a lot of the folks previously, it's going to raise the cost to the contractor, which is also going to raise the cost of the construction onto the building owner itself. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 200, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 200? I don't see anyone walking up. In Las Vegas, you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Victoria Carrion for the record. I'm the administrator of the Division of Industrial Relations. We want to thank the bill sponsor for working with us on some technical corrections that are in the amendment. Our agency would be responsible for revising some of our forms that are used to calculate the average monthly wage. We would be adding in the average prevailing wage, and we would obviously also help provide training to the insurers on how to apply the new formulas. And happy to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To provide neutral testimony for Assembly Bill 200, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you.
Greg Esposito for the record. One of the best parts of Carson City, in my opinion, is you get to speak to people on the other side of an issue, and you get to learn from them. The conversations I've had with everybody who came up to the table in opposition, and the meeting we had last week was very informative. Really appreciate everyone having a great dialogue about their concerns with the bill, what it would do, and I share their concerns. You can't change a market drastically and not expect it to affect everyone universally. So truly appreciate the education I've been given while working with this. The fact of the matter is that there are workers who are having their families affected, having their finances affected, losing homes, losing property, because when they get hurt, the system that is supposed to help them, the system that's supposed to support them, isn't doing as good of a job as it was designed to do. And so, as many of them said, look forward to continuing to work on the mechanics of this bill in order to protect those workers and get those workers as close to whole as possible, while also not hurting the industry so much to where contractors can't bid jobs, can't hire workers, can't build homes and projects. So I thank the committee very much for their time today, and look forward to continuing to work with the opponents and the sponsor.
Denise Karras for the record. First, I'd like to thank all the supporters and opposition for being so considerate of the committee's time. Those were the fastest testimonies I've heard. We have been, as you heard, working with the stakeholders to resolve the various issues, and we will continue to do so, working towards a resolution. I'd like to thank you, Chair Marzola, and all the members of the committee. I urge your support of this important legislation, and we're ready to go. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Assemblymember, for bringing forward this bill and also spending a little bit of time with us and Commerce. And with that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 200. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 388. This measure revises provisions relating to employment. Welcome, Assemblymember. Once you're ready, you may begin.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure our folks in Vegas, I think we should have Amy Peterson at the table presenting with us.
Amy is here.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. I guess it's good afternoon now, Chair and Committee. Thank you so much for having me. I am Assemblymember Selena LaRue Hatch, and I am proud to represent Assembly District 25. I have some co-presenters here with me that are going to tell some stories about paid family medical leave, which is the topic of this bill. AB 388 is about extending paid family medical leave to workers across the state. And I think the most important thing we can talk about here is why we need this. And so I would really like to just start with my own story. My daughter, Abby, who many of you have met, came a month early, and she was 4 pounds and 2 ounces when she was born. And she couldn't keep up her temperature. She had to stay in the PICU, which is an area in the hospital where they care for premature babies. And I had to go on leave suddenly a month earlier than I planned. I ended up staying home 4 months with Abby Girl to take care of her because of her health issues and making sure she was ready to go to daycare. And only 8 weeks of that was paid. The rest of that time, I went unpaid, and I was a third-year teacher. For our educators on the committee, you know we're already sacrificing just being a teacher, and then going unpaid was an incredible challenge. And my family had to scrape by to survive that time. And so that's a need in my own life. Also, there was a second time in my life that I needed paid family medical leave. Many of you may know that the reason I have braces now is because I had jaw surgery in November. And I had 6 weeks of recovery in which I couldn't even eat. I couldn't really talk to anybody. I was forced to use my sick leave during that time. And that's not really a sick leave kind of an issue. That is recovery from a major surgery. And I did not have enough days to cover me while I was on leave. I would have gone unpaid if only for the fact that my union negotiated a system in which other teachers could donate their sick days to me. So I had to get paid based on other teachers being charitable and sharing their sick time with me. And that would have been an incredible hardship for my family. And I have some other folks here who would like to tell their story. So I'm going to pass it to Ms. Andrea Martinez to share hers.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Andrea Martinez, and I am here today as a mother of 4. I wholeheartedly support AB 388 as I have personally experienced challenges of being pregnant and raising children while working. I worked until I was 38 weeks into my pregnancy, giving birth to my daughter. Unfortunately, I could only take about 4 weeks of leave, 2 weeks paid for my accrued leave, and 2 weeks unpaid. Sorry, it's a little, I didn't realize it still stuck with me today. This situation created a significant hardship for me, especially since I had a C-section and needed time to heal. At that time, as a single mother with one income, I had to return to work quickly to support my 3 children. This pressure forced me to stop breastfeeding my daughter and send her to daycare at a very young age. I wouldn't wish this burden on anyone, especially mothers who face the difficult decision to provide for their families. I appreciate Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for bringing this important issue to light, and I urge you to support the passage of this bill. It could make a meaningful difference in the lives of families who would benefit from it. Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I'm realizing thinking about Abby Girl when she was so small was also hard, but I appreciate you sharing your story. We're now going to go to Ms. Amy Peterson in Las Vegas, who will tell her story.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Amy Peterson, AMYPETERSON, from Boulder City, Nevada, and I am here in support of AB 388. My story is a little bit different, although I do come from the education background, so I appreciate the teacher's plight here. My husband was an airline pilot, and he quit flying voluntarily at 47 due to some problems he was having remembering. He was diagnosed shortly after that with early age onset Alzheimer's, and he died a couple weeks after he turned 58. Since dementia affects short-term memory, I was the one that needed to accompany him to doctor visits. Fortunately, Clark County School District offered family medical leave, but it was not, it wasn't adequate. And I had a very understanding boss. My principal was very understanding in terms of, family coming first, but it added so much stress to an already very stressful situation. Dementia is affecting younger people. We're seeing it at a younger age, and so a lot of people are still in the working phase, or they're still working and taking care of parents. Caregivers face enormous challenges when they're caring for a young loved one, and they need to be there in support. They need to advocate for their loved one in terms of getting an accurate and an early diagnosis and finding appropriate physicians and getting the medical testing and driving responsibilities, and the list goes on. I sometimes thought if it wasn't for doctor's appointments, we wouldn't have a social life. Being a teacher in the classroom at that time, I was very distracted on the job. Sometimes I had to go in a little bit late. Sometimes I had to leave a little bit early. Paid medical leave would alleviate at least one of these major stressors. And as the disease goes on, as the loved one starts to decline, we end up interviewing home health care takes time, finding appropriate placement. These are all major stressors that contribute to a caregiver's situation. My story is not unique at all. It is something that I hear from the caregivers that in the support group that I facilitate. And it's just a plight that we need some help with. So as I said, my story is not unique. I appreciate your consideration in AB 388, excuse me. Thank you again for your time.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So hopefully what you're seeing in these stories is that this is not about sick time. Sick time or paid time off is different from paid family medical leave. Paid family medical leave is leave for very certain life conditions that you need to handle that are much more long-term than a single day sick or a single day going to the doctor. And I know that you have heard from constituents about these stories. I have heard from my constituents about this need. And I don't think that Nevada families should have to choose between their paycheck and their health, or between their families and having a roof over their heads. And so that is the intent of AB 388. 13 other states have paid family medical leave programs. This bill would extend paid family medical leave to local and state government employees and to businesses that have 50 or more employers. And that was chosen purposefully to match our current sick leave statute. And the number of businesses that have 50 or more employees is actually only 4% of Nevada businesses. So it will not have a significant harm on small businesses. But even though it is only 4% of businesses, it is almost 1 million workers directly. And then if we think about the families that will be impacted, this is a significant portion of our population that would be supported by this bill. So with that in mind, I would like to briefly walk you through the bill. Section 2 of the bill just lays out who's in charge of creating forms and procedures for when someone can take paid family medical leave. Section 3 states that employers must provide notice of this leave availability to their employees. They need to have signs. They need to let them know if they have a leave condition that this is available. Section 4 is really the heart of the bill, and Section 4 and Section 7 are almost exactly the same. Section 4 is for executive branch and NSHE employees. Section 7 is for local government or those private businesses. So I will talk about both at once since they really are the same, just in separate sections. So in Section 4, it lays out the details for leave. Employees would qualify for leave after 90 days. That is in line with standard benefits that are offered in most businesses. But this doesn't mean you have 12 weeks of hours just available as PTO. It just means if you qualify for one of these events, you could potentially go on leave. On page 5 at the top, that includes the leave conditions. So if you were to have a newborn child, or you are to foster or adopt a child, you can take leave. If you are undergoing treatment for a serious illness, if you have a serious health condition, you can take leave if you're caring for a seriously ill family member. And then we also have qualifying events for military deployment. We know that sometimes when family members are deployed, suddenly there are many extra burdens on the family or for the individual to make arrangements before they leave. And then there is also safe leave, which is for domestic violence or sexual assault. We know it takes time for people to go to the court, to get protective orders, all of the other work that goes into it. We want to make sure they can take care of themselves. The next section down, subsection 2, protects 40 hours of PTO. So you can require, as my employer did, that people have to use some of their sick leave, but we want to protect at least those 40 hours so when they come back from their paid leave, they still have a buffer. The next part is probably the part that is most confusing for folks, sub 3, that is the pay. The amount paid is on a sliding scale, and the reason for that is we understand that folks who are making minimum wage cannot afford to miss even $100 from their paycheck because that is the difference between having a place to live or not. So we are basing it on the state average weekly wage. If you make 110% of that or less, you will get 100% of your pay while you are on leave. Now, I know you probably all don't have that number memorized, so that is about $1,200 a week, or $57,000 a year. If you make that or less, you would get 100% of your pay. If you make more than that, you will get 60% of your pay. And then it is capped at 150%, which is about $78,000 a year. We recognize if someone's making $2 million a year, they probably don't need their full wage replaced while they are on leave. If you go below that, it includes that employees should give notice when possible, and they should make every reasonable effort to coordinate with their employer. We don't want folks to just not show up one day for a surgery that they had planned for 9 months. We understand there needs to be reasonable notice. If you go to the next page, it includes more details about the division, and then at the very bottom, subsection 9 I think that part is really important because it protects collective bargaining agreements and it protects anybody that has better benefits currently. So if you're already having leave that is better than this 12 weeks offered, then you will keep that. Page 7 is definitions for what include family or parent or child. The bottom of that includes the military leave, so that's where it says qualifying event, and then it lists all of the different military exigency leave. Page 8 includes definitions for safe leave, and then there's a whole bunch of statutes that I don't need to read to you. And then we can go to page 11 is section 7. As I said, that is the same as the section I just described. Section 8 is the same as section 2, again, just for those local government employees. Section 9 is the same as section 3. And then section 10 is the penalties for retaliation or failure to comply with these leave requirements. And then there's one section, section 14, I'd like to point out. In drafting, there was a repeal of the safe leave statutes, assuming that they would be covered under this paid leave. However, this bill only applies to people that work at companies of 50 and more. We already did a lot of work on safe leave, and I want to ensure that everybody can still access unpaid safe leave, even if they're not covered by that bill. So you'll notice there is an amendment to put those sections back in for those individuals. And to close, I just would like to say there's been a huge coalition that has been working on this for well over a year throughout interim on this bill. I'm very excited about the folks you're going to hear from today. We have many discussions with stakeholders, and even those that didn't agree, I appreciate them coming to the table and discussing this. Our body has been working on paid family medical leave. We passed a bill last session to extend it to our executive branch employees. I think this is a natural next step, and I think that this is very important for working Nevada families, that we are providing the supports they need to thrive. And with that, Chair, we stand ready for questions.
Thank you, Assemblymember, and thank you for your presentation today. Assembly members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblymember, for bringing this forward. It goes without saying the financial benefits available to the families or the employees that need this, that are able to take advantage of this when they're in need. But have you done any research or have any data on the financial benefits for maybe the state and or actually the employers as well?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. Thank you so much for that question. Chair, may I go direct? Please. Thank you. So absolutely, there is a huge economic benefit to the state and to businesses as well. We know that nationally, there are $22.5 billion in lost wages from people that are dropping out of the workforce for these leave conditions currently because they have no other option in order to take care of their health or their families. We also know that this significantly reduces turnover. It improves morale and productivity. We know that companies spend on average 24% of their budgets on training new employees. If people are quitting because they cannot maintain this job and take the leave they need, you are training new employees, and that is increasing costs. In places that have implemented paid leave, for example, in the manufacturing sector, there was a study that showed for every dollar invested, there was a $2.54 return on investment in that paid leave because of the boost to productivity and the reduction in turnover. So this is not just a worker bill. In my mind, I actually think this is a very pro-business bill because it improves productivity, it decreases costs, and it improves morale.
Quick follow-up, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And Assemblymember, did you say, thank you for that, I was like copying it all down frantically. Did you say earlier in your presentation that there would be 1 million Nevadans out of a state of 3 million?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. That is correct. Even though it is 4% of businesses that are covered, it is almost 1 million Nevadans out of our 3 million state population that would be directly impacted. That does not include all of the family members that would also have benefits.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Assemblymember Cole.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for bringing this. So my question is tied to the, I think you said 13 other states that have done something similar. So I guess my question is it set up exactly the same way where the burden of paying for the additional time off is borne by the state for the state agencies and then the employers? Or is there a different setup in those states? Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, thank you for that question. So there are many different systems in many different states. Several of the states have a centralized system in which the employer pays into a state fund, and then the state manages paid family medical leave for every person in the state. Knowing our budget constraints, I didn't want to do that to our chair of Ways and Means that's sitting here. And so there are other states that have systems where it is more on the employer. Some states allow them to purchase an insurance for paid family medical leave that their employees can then access. If employers wanted to purchase that kind of insurance system under my bill, they could do that. So this is kind of a blending of multiple state approaches.
Thank you for that. Are there any programs that require employees to also pay into a fund along with the employer so they kind of share the balance of that? Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, there are some states that do that. There are some states that do not.
Speaker Yeager.
Thank you so much, Chair. I have a couple of questions, if I could, and thank you for the presentation. And you might have covered this in the presentation. It's been a long day already. It feels like it's 5 o'clock and it's only 1. But could you talk about the decision to go with 50 as the number of employees? I mean, we always have to draw these lines, but I remember when we talked about this issue before, it was always like, well, the people that had 49 were like, why don't we get the coverage? And the people that have 51 say, well, why did we have to do it? And so can you just, if you might have already covered that, but just explain to me how you came up with that number, please.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, thank you so much for that question, because it was a careful decision. We want to balance covering as many individuals as we can, while also recognizing we do not want to put undue burdens on our small businesses. So that number was chosen for a couple of reasons. One, there are many definitions of a small business which say it is less than 50 employees, and so I wanted to exclude small businesses explicitly. Two, it is chosen to match other areas of statute. For example, our sick leave statute, which I visited you about a month ago, is also based on employers of 50 or more. And so I decided, since it's already in statute and we as a body already decided that's a reasonable cutoff, that makes it a reasonable cutoff. And then when I actually did investigations and found out that's actually only 4% of businesses, that confirmed to me that was the right number because it's a small percentage of businesses, but as Assemblymember Miller pointed out, a huge number of people that would be impacted.
And Chair, could I ask another question? I really like the approach you've taken here about the percentage to pay out, right? That if you're under 110% of the state average wage, you would get your full paycheck. But I did want to ask the next portion of that. Basically, it looks like it caps it at 150% of the state average wage. And I'm just thinking about maybe not necessarily in state government, but certainly in the private sector, we have people who make a lot of money. And so was there any thought put into like a cap that says if you make over a certain amount of money, you're just not going to qualify for this program? It might not be fair, but someone making minimum wage versus someone who maybe is in a multi-million-dollar corporate position. I just wanted to ask if you'd sort of thought about that, and then I guess maybe related to that is, I don't know if any other state does it that way, but it seems like maybe there's a difference between that employee and someone who's a lower wage employee.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record. So I appreciate that sentiment. That's why we put the cap in there. So the cap is, as I said, about $1,600 a week or $78,000 a year. So if someone is making $2 million a year, they're going to get a very small percentage of their paycheck comparatively while they are on leave. I am certainly open to discussions if we wanted to just exclude certain individuals. I think the point you're making is fair, and it's what I'm trying to get out here of there are some folks that can afford to go on leave and are currently going on leave, and there are other folks that can't. And we know there's a lot of people in our communities that are putting off major surgeries, that are putting off major life events because they cannot afford to take the leave. And so that was recognizing that situation.
Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious, you were referencing 4% of businesses. And where does that number come from? Is that from a state agency that, how did you get that number?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. Thank you so much. So that actually came from our fabulous LCB Research Division, and they were able to dig through the employment records that we have as a state, and were able to come up with that percentage.
Great, thank you.
Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. So my questions are, and you mentioned this quickly, but I just wanted to hear your answer again, was you're changing it from the 12 consecutive months that they have to be employed to 90 days, and then they're entitled to 12 weeks instead of 8. Why did you change that? That's my first question.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So we changed that. There's two things we changed there, right? The 90 days was to be better in line with when many employers are offering benefits. And I think especially when we're talking about a change here, that's for our state employees. We know that one of the best parts of working for state government is supposed to be the perks, right? The benefits. And if we are not keeping up with the private sector, we are going to lose people. And so that was trying to get it in line with what people can access in private sector for benefits. And then your question was 8 to 12 weeks. 12 weeks was just more in line with what other states are doing on paid family medical leave. It was more in line with recommendations for the amount that people need. I will tell you, on average, in states that have universal paid family medical leave, the average leave that people take is about 7 weeks. So I don't know that every single person will take 12 weeks, but I think it's important that we have it there available if it were needed.
Okay, thank you for the answers. And then my other questions were in areas where it says an employee shall give notice as soon as practicable and make a reasonable effort to take the leave, you know, hopefully trying to work with their employer and such. So I'm always, when I see those words like practicable and reasonable, an employee and an employer could have a different interpretation of what that was. And then, you know, an employer could potentially suffer consequences and things like that for if someone believes they weren't acting practicable or reasonable. And then if I understand this, like the employer, the leave has to be given. Do I understand that correctly also?
Yeah, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So I understand that we always struggle with definitions, right, in statute. I didn't want to say you had to give X number of days notice because we know accidents happen, right? If someone gets into a car accident on the way to work and suddenly they're in a coma for 3 months, their husband might not know they had to take leave that day. And so I didn't want to put something in there that would restrict those emergency situations. That's why there is oversight with the labor commissioner. And the employer doesn't have to provide it just because I say I want to go on leave and I'm getting a surgery and no proof whatsoever, right? There are conditions in the bill that say you have to provide proof, and there is, in fact, even a section in the bill that if the employer thinks that someone is taking leave fraudulently, they can apply to the labor commissioner and they can get reimbursement for the leave they paid. And so there are conditions there to make sure we have guardrails.
Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I did have a question about Section 4, subsection 3 on page 5. When I read this, it says that they would get 100% if that employee is not earning more than 110%. My concern would be that individual that's earning 112% would only be getting 60% of the regular wage, which would actually make them make less than what an individual who would otherwise be getting 110%. So is the intent of the legislation to set that as a minimum, or is the intent of the legislation that an individual that is making that 111%, 112%, for them to get paid only 60% of that salary? I don't have that number that you said earlier, but that would be, I think, a couple $100 less.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So just to clarify your question, you're asking if they make just over the edge, are we going to ensure that they get 100% of their salary up to the 110 and then they only get 60% of what's over? Is that what you're asking?
Thank you, Chair. To clarify, I just want to make sure that somebody who is making 111% or 120% would still get that, at least that minimum that we are setting with that 110%, and that they wouldn't then be getting significantly less. I think you said the number was about $1,200. And so if that they were making just a little bit over that amount, even $1 over, $2 over, then that individual would see $300, $400 less. So they would be only making $800 from this. They would not get 100%, right? They would only be getting 60%, whereas their counterparts that were actually generally making less money would be getting more than them. So I'm just trying to understand the intent.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. Thank you for clarifying. No, I understand. You know, the intention of that language, as I said, was to protect folks that are on that lower scale of the income. And so I think if we need to massage that language and discuss how we ensure those protections, I am certainly open to it, because I think you are laying out the intent, which is to protect folks that are not making enough to afford to be able to take leave, while also ensuring that there's guardrails for those folks that are making $2 million a year.
And just a follow-up on my colleague's question, just to confirm the numbers that you gave early, it was $1,200 a week or approximately $57,000 a year or less, correct, for them to be able to get their 100% pay?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. That is correct.
Thank you. Assemblymember O'Neill?
Thank you, Chair. And with your permission, 2 questions. The first one being fairly quick and easy. 13 states, what are they that you mentioned?
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part of the question.
You mentioned 13 states already have this law. What are the states?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that question. Let me pull up my list. Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So the states that currently have it are Washington, Rhode Island, Oregon, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Maryland, Maine, California, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, and District of Columbia, which is not a state, but we'll throw them in there.
They count. And if, Chair, may I ask a second question? Yes. Oh, excuse me. While you're out on FMLA, who is the employer required to still provide benefits for you, pay for your retirement time, et cetera? Are those benefits, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for your insurance?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. I appreciate that question. The intent is for the employer to continue to offer those benefits while you are on leave. And in fact, when I was on leave, when my daughter was born, my employer did not pay PERS. And so I actually had to pay back my PERS time when I came back on leave, which was another additional hardship. And so I wanted to make sure folks are not experiencing additional hardships, especially if they are recovering from a treatment or getting a surgery. The last thing we want is for their health insurance to be cut while they are on that leave.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. Give you a couple seconds to step back. We will begin with testimony in support of Assembly Bill 388. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. Please remember that you have 2 minutes each so that we can try and accommodate everyone. And also, ditto is perfectly fine. You may begin when you're ready.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis, M-A-R-C-E-L-L-I-S. I am the President of Communication Workers of America, Local 9413. And on behalf of my local and as a veteran, I strongly support this bill. I can't say ditto because I went first.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. My name is Riley Svensson, R-Y-L-E-Y-S-V-E-N-D-S-E-N, and I am the Policy Specialist with the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. NCEDSV is in strong support of AB 388. Domestic and sexual violence are traumatic events that leave victim survivors having to navigate complex and time-consuming systems, all while keeping themselves safe and processing trauma. Allowing victims to access paid safe leave during this time will have a resounding impact for victims and give them choices. Too often, victims of violence are trapped in abusive and volatile relationships because they simply can't afford to leave. This bill is a critical step in helping break down barriers and increase survivors' safety. And it has broad support. In February of 2025, a survey conducted by the Nevada Latino Legislative Caucus and the State Innovation Exchange showed that paid family medical leave has 92% support among the Latino community. Paid family and medical leave are violence prevention, as it provides all individuals with opportunities and support for financial security, which is proven to reduce risk factors for future victimizations. AB 388 is necessary for the safety and well-being of our communities, and we urge this committee to pass it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Todd Inglesby, representing SEIU. I'd like to thank the committee for hearing this important legislation. I think the Assembly member did a great job with her presentation and why this is so important. I think our current laws are failing to meet the needs of our workers, families, and businesses. You will hear today from businesses, I'm sure, that will say this will hurt their profit lines and stuff. I'd like to argue that I think this will improve morale, productivity of their employees. It'll also be able to be used as a retention and recruitment benefit package too as well, and I feel that very strongly. I feel all workers should have access to family medical leave. This is an issue which touches, I think, economic issues, gender equality, workers' rights, healthcare, our aging population, and every person in Nevada deserves the ability to care for themselves and their family with dignity and not fear about losing their jobs or not being able to support their family. Thank you.
Good afternoon, chairs and the member of committees. My name is Sui Huang. For the record, it's spelled S-H-U-Y-I-H-U-A-N-G. I'm here today to express my strong support for AB 388. This bill is essential because it will ensure that all Nevada citizens have the necessary support to care for their families without compromising economic condition. I'm currently taking care of my husband who has been diagnosed for stage 3 cancer. I have been incredibly grateful that my employer, the Asian Community Development Council, has been allowing me to take time off to take care of my husband when he's doing the chemotherapy with the paycheck. Unfortunately, not all families have the same support. While at the hospital, I have met other cancer patients whose family members were denied leave requests. Therefore, they were forced to choose between their jobs and their families. For families facing serious illness, the ability to take time off, it is not just a convenience, it is a matter of survival. AB 388 is a critical step to create a more equitable workplace environment for all Nevada citizens. I respectfully encourage these committees to support the bill and help to improve the well-being of our communities. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Kaylee Krenz, and I'm here on behalf of the Washoe Education Association. I am part of the WEA Board of Directors as their middle school director, social justice chair, and communications chair. Just so you know my credentials on this topic specifically, I am a master's educated middle school teacher. I previously worked in the Human Resources Department for the school district. My first career was in healthcare, specifically health insurance, and I hold a bachelor's of science in healthcare management administration. So I would like to share my thoughts on behalf of our union and myself. Again, my name is Kaylee Krenz, K-R-E-N-T-Z. Educators, as you all hopefully know, work in a very high-stress, underpaid job, and many of us face chronic health issues like autoimmune disease, mental health struggles, and even conditions caused by the demands of our profession. For example, on average, did you know that most teachers will develop some type of chronic intestinal illness due to not being able to use the restroom when they'd like? Just a fun fact. We often live paycheck to paycheck. We rely on medical leave, and we get by when illness strikes. We often struggle. I personally struggled with a chronic genetic illness currently, and I survived a bilateral pulmonary embolism that required months off of work. I was unable to pay my bills. I was unable to pay for my insurance. I was unable to do a lot of things until my short-term disability was approved that I pay for. My husband was unable to stay home to take care of our 4 kids, and I had to rely on friends and family to do so because I did not have the full pay I could have. As a mother of 5 currently, I use my leave, my sick time, like Assembly Person LaRue Hatch mentioned, for my kids. I've had to take time off for my son with RSV, for my other son's mental illness. several different things. This bill's requirement for clear procedures and paid family leave is essential, especially for those of us who are underpaid professions like education. And I urge you to pass this bill and provide support for working families desperately in need, like educators, AKA pass the plan, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Susie Martinez. I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada State AFL-CIO. I can honestly say I'm very lucky that the job that I have, I could run away, I could do whatever I need to do, right? Because I work so many hours, doesn't matter. But had I been in rank and file like I was at my previous job, it would have been a little more difficult. I actually have to take care of I actually help my sister. We both take care of my 88-year-old mother who has dementia. Right? And it's like, this is a bill that touches all of us, whether it's a grandmother, grandfather, son, daughter, it's a family member. So this is something that can affect so many of us. And again, I'm very fortunate that I can do things that other people can't do. So that is why this bill is so important. We need to take care of families, working families. So with that being said, I support the bill. Thank you very much.
Kent Irvin, K-E-N-T-E-R-V-I-N for the Nevada Faculty Alliance. We support AB 388 for the reasons stated. Not only the time that's allowed, but the flexibility to use it part-time, parts of the week to help both the employer and the employee is important. I would like to note that our understanding of the bill is that this applies to both our classified colleagues at NSHE and our unclassified academic and administrative faculty. But because of NRS 396.251, an exemption, it won't apply to our graduate assistants, postdoctoral researchers, or medical residents and other student workers. And although we support the bill as it is, we think everyone should be covered. Thank you.
Richmond Warnicki with SEIU 1107. I echo everything that's been said. Thank you.
Ben Challoner, Nevada Director of Public Policy for the Alzheimer's Association. On behalf of the 84,000 caregivers providing unpaid care to the nearly 55,000 Nevadans living with Alzheimer's and dementia, we're here in support. Also, on a personal level, a member of the sandwich generation, I've been the caregiver for my father-in-law when he had cancer, 2 cancers. I was able to be there for him with my partner, and also being a new father, I was able to take time off. Some of you have got to meet my little one past couple of weeks, but I was able to spend 12 weeks, 6 weeks paid, 6 weeks unpaid, where I had to use my PTO. That time where I was able to be with him was invaluable, not just for him and the bonding I had with him, but I was able to be there for my partner, be in full support of her and her healing. So that's why I'm also in support of this bill. Thank you.
Just to let you guys know that we are almost out of time here in Carson City, and so, again, ditto is perfectly fine. You may begin when you're ready.
Gabe Christensen, CHRISTNSON, Smart TD, Nevada State Legislative Director, ditto.
My name's Al Rojas, Assembly District 12. I want to congratulate the presenter, presented it very clearly. We're the people that in our community, we are very strong supporters of our convenience operators, store operators like 7-Eleven and stuff, and we consider them first responders, and I definitely think that this will really help them keep the service that we want in our community. Thank you very much. Bye.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cassie Charles, and I'm the political representative for AFSCME, or the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. Expansions for paid family medical leave are long overdue to continue supporting working families. I've been hearing stories daily of members who have had to go several weeks without pay because they don't qualify for paid leave under the current regulations. We are in strong support of AB 388, and we genuinely thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Tess Opferman here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby. We echo all of the testimony today. We also just want to say there are only 6 countries in the world that don't offer some form of national paid leave. The United States is one of those 6. We are also the only OECD country that does not offer any sort of national paid leave. We know that states are working on this. 13 states have passed some sort of paid family medical leave. We want Nevada to be part of that group. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarai Santos, union organizer with Workers United. On behalf of the 2,000 warehouse workers I represent, I fully support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica Washington. I am the Executive Director of Make It Work Nevada. We have been working on passing paid leave for more than 10 years, and so we are here in support of AB 388. I just want to say that employees and workers are people. They are human beings breathing the same oxygen, and our focus is to support human rights, and we believe that being there to support and advocate, love, and care for our family is indeed a human right and a reproductive justice issue. Everyone has someone that they will drop everything for, and it's our responsibility to care for our families and each other. And care looks like putting a Band-Aid on a scratch, sitting with someone through chemo, sitting with your mother as they search for a specific specialist, and sitting through testing with your spouse, and supporting and passing suitable policies that help all of us is also care. So we plead that you support AB 388. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to pause in Carson City. I am going to start in Las Vegas. If we have any more time left, I will come back to Carson. So give me a moment. You may begin when you're ready if you're testifying in support in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Kanale Ainuu, spelled Kenaleainuu. I am the native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander organizer at One API Nevada, and here to support AB 388. In 2025, One API Nevada did a data analysis where we found that multi-generational households are a cultural norm among many ANHPI ethnicities. As a result, multi-generational family households are more prevalent among Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities, around 70% of households. In these multi-generational households, especially in the Pacific Islander community, many heads of households are tasked with being caregivers to the family, including elderly family members. By providing an option for paid family leave for employees, we are giving people the opportunity to address emergency family situations without worrying about losing their income entirely. Nobody should have to choose between caring for sick loved ones versus providing support for them financially. We urge you to support AB 388 for the working families in Nevada. Thank you.
You may begin when you're ready.
Hello, Assembly. For the record, my name is Lino Paredes, and I'm with the Culinary Union, and I would like to say my testimony. Hello, my name is Lino Paredes. I'm a banquet storing lead at the Wynn Casino for 3 years now. I had been a Culinary Union member for 7. My son was born in January 2020, just a few weeks before the world's COVID-19 pandemic shutdown. I was able to have 3 weeks of paternity leave thanks to the union contract that provided me with the time. My wife was supposed to have a normal delivery by the time she got sick. We had to go to the hospital a few days before my wife's due date because her symptoms got really bad. She started to get treated with a lot of medications to increase the risk of complications for my wife and my kid. After my son was born, my wife had to stay in hospital for 3 weeks to make sure she fully recovered. My newborn also had to stay in the hospital in the NICU as a precaution. Since I had the paternity leave, I was able to stay with my wife and my newborn and be there for them and with them. I remember spending time with my baby, changing diapers, feeding him, and bonding while my wife was in recovery. Those weeks were very important in my life to be with my baby and my wife. I'm grateful that I have a strong union contract that gave me the opportunity. After 3 weeks, my wife was released from the hospital with my son, and I went back to work. I wish I had more time off to help my wife with our newborn. I strongly support AB 388, which will help other young parents like me to have paternity leave. I believe every parent deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tamika Henry. I'm an ambassador with Make It Work Nevada. Like Erica said, we have been fighting for paid family medical leave for all for over a decade. My paid leave story begins with my husband who has a chronic illness. We've been battling this since 2006. I had a statement prepared but I just wanted to really speak from the heart. This is a bill that's so very necessary for so many families, whether you are caring for your children, your aging parents, or a spouse. Oftentimes, some people go misdiagnosed, and they are in a hospital for long periods of time, where you have to be there to advocate on their behalf. This bill is so very necessary, so families don't have to choose between paying for their livelihood or taking care of their loved ones. My husband is in the hospital right now. He was supposed to have a procedure this morning, and I was there waiting for that to happen, and then they switched it, and it's happening at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You know, still having to take time off of work. Families deserve to have paid family leave. We need it so we can be there for our families, but also be able to take care of our families when they do make it home. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mazzola and committee members. My name is Sierra Cardine, Cierra Carodine. I am a Master Social Work student and intern with Make Work Nevada. I strongly support AB 388, which would expand and strengthen paid family and medical leave in Nevada. Throughout my life, I have worked jobs that did not provide paid leave, forcing me and others to choose between our health, our family, and our jobs. Workers are more than just employees. We are parents, caregivers, and survivors of trauma. Yet current policy only acknowledges that our role is to work, no matter what challenges we are experiencing. When life happens, whether it's family emergency, medical recovery, or a traumatic situation, no one should have to choose between keeping their job and taking care of themselves or their loved ones. Paid leave is essential, not a luxury. AB 388 ensures workers have the time to heal and take care of their families without risking financial security. This is about fairness and recognizing the humanity of our employees. I urge you to support AB 388 and stand up for Nevada's workers and families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mazzola and committee members, and thank you for this. My name is Derek Washington, DerekWashington. When my mom started showing signs of dementia, I honestly thought it would be like a minor inconvenience. After 3 years, thousands of dollars in lost wages, and several trips to the ER for nervous exhaustion, I have found that the inconvenience is massive, expensive, and truly mentally exhausting. I never imagined that I would have to completely change my life in order to keep my mom safe. Recently, Mayor Berkeley praised me as such a good son. All I could think is, my mom took me to Paris to show me the world when I was 6. I'm not being a good son. I owe my mom everything. I can't lie or pretend to be stronger than I am. Until I was forced to place my mom in a group home recently, I had never known what a caregiver goes through and how little support they have. So many times I had to choose between my income and taking just a moment to close my eyes while she slept. It was physically and mentally exhausting. This bill would give caregivers focus on actual caregiving and their own physical and mental health. We just need a moment to live, a moment to rest. I want the freedom to take care of my mom. I want to emphasize, situations are not planned. Everyone in this room, up there, everyone will experience what I'm going through. We will all be caregivers or in need of care someday. Pass this bill not for me, not for the voters who elected you. Pass it for your family members. Pass it for your eventual caregiver. We will all be in this position on both sides, the caregiver and the one in need of care. As Edgar Allan Poe once said, ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is Ingrid Aguillon, and I am proud member of Make the Road Nevada. As a woman and a mother, it's very important to have time needed to care for my health and my baby's especially when a newborn has complications, those first weeks of care are essentials, and no worker should be fired for taking the time they needed to heal and provide that care. That's why I support AB 388. All families in Nevada deserve the right to care and recover without fear of losing their job. This bill is a step towards a more just and inclusive Nevada. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott.
Sorry to cut you off. I have time for one more testimony, so you may begin when you're ready.
My name is Katia, Kathia, Sotelo, Sotelo. I will be translating for Antonio here.
Buenos días, honorable Comité de Comercio y Trabajo. Mi nombre es Antonio García y soy un orgulloso miembro de Make It Road Nevada. Por años los hispanos hemos trabajado con pasión para construir este gran estado. Sin embargo, muchas veces nuestras carreras han visto empañadas por el miedo de perder el empleo si enfermamos o necesitamos cuidar a un ser querido. El proyecto AB 388 es una oportunidad real para cambiar eso. No se trata de una política laboral, se trata de dignidad, de justicia, de esperanza para quienes sostienen a Nevada con su esfuerzo diario. Esta ley puede marcar un cambio trascendental para la fuerza laboral de Las Vegas y de todo el estado. Es hora de que los trabajadores hispanos tengamos el respaldo necesario para hacer nuestro trabajo sin miedo a un mañana incierto. Por favor, aprueben AB 388 y bríndenos la estabilidad que tanto anhelamos. Muchísimas gracias.
Good morning, Honorable Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is Antonio Garcia, and I am a proud member of Make the Road Nevada. For years, Hispanics have worked passionately to help build this great state. Yet too often, our careers have been clouded by fear and of losing our jobs if we get sick or need to take care of our loved one. AB 388 is a real opportunity to change that. This isn't about labor policy, it's about dignity, justice, and hope for those who keep Nevada running through their daily efforts. This bill can be a turning point for the workforce in Las Vegas and across the state. It's time for Hispanic workers to have the support we need to do our jobs without the fear of uncertain tomorrow. Please pass AB 388 and give us the stability we've been hoping for. Thank you.
Thank you for translating the testimony. The time in Las Vegas has run out, so for the individuals who were not able to testify in support, if you can please stand. I want to first thank you so much for coming and taking the time out of your schedule to come and be part of the process today. Even though I don't have any more time for you to testify, if you can please submit your testimony in writing, and I will make sure to upload it and make it available to everyone. And if I'm counting correctly, 1, 2, 3, I see about 4 or 5 people that were not able to testify. But again, thank you. We will now move to broadcast. Is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 388, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press *9.
Cyrus, Hojjaty. I will support this bill. Ditto many of the previous comments. This is very, very important. I feel like workers shouldn't be really treated like chewing gum. I mean, they have lives, they have very important, duties, and family does matter. I wish we can bring more bills like this in the future. It's very, very important. And I'm just a bit concerned about small businesses, but maybe we can make a few changes on that. But overall, Thank you so much. Yield my time.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, and I am the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress in the Institute for Progressive Nevada. I am here today in strong support of AB 388, not just for my organizations, but also as a mother. After 36 hours of labor, a failed epidural, and an emergency C-section that later split open, my body was pushed to its limits, and my husband had no access to paid leave. He was forced to take a month of unpaid leave to care for me and our newborn, leaving us financially strapped while buying diapers, wipes, and formula. Luckily, we were able to scrape by, but too many families are less fortunate. They're forced to choose between caring for their loved ones or keeping the lights on. We already know that society does not value parents. It demands that children be born, that abandons mothers and caregivers to suffer in silence, repaying them with scraps. The message is clear that our sacrifices don't matter, only our productivity does. Workplaces expect employees to check their humanity at the door, pretending caregiving, illness, and grief don't exist. AB 388 is more than policy. It is a moral line in the sand. Nevada must decide if it will stand up for families or continue a broken system that exploits the resilience of mothers and caregivers. But we need more than lip service, we need action. Pass AB 388 and show Nevadans that their struggles are seen, respected, and worthy of support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Denise Lopez, Director of Nevada Campaigns for Reproductive Freedom for All. I'm here on behalf of the 60,000 members we have in Nevada and also here in strong support. Thank you to the Assembly member for this bill. I'm here in my role as director, but also as a first-time mom. I'm grateful that my organization believes in paid family medical leave. Last year, I gave birth to my child, and I was fortunate to take 5 months off of paid maternity leave. And this time allowed me to recover from childbirth. I was able to bond with my baby, focus on my breastfeeding journey. I was able to focus on my child's well-being at the most critical time of our lives and his life. I know that being on leave improved my overall health and reduced my chances of experiencing postpartum depression and anxiety. I support this bill, want to make sure that mothers, parents, anyone who's a caregiver doesn't have to choose between their well-being and financial stability. So I urge this committee to pass the bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emily Halverson, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am also a mother of 2. I frequently work with all types of families in the Las Vegas area, and one of the most frequent things that people cite as a predictor of postpartum depression and declining mental health after the birth of a child is the inability to have enough time to bond with that child. It's something that I frequently hear discussed in counseling sessions, and I'm in strong support of this bill. I think that it helps relationships, mental health, children's mental health all around the board, and it's very, very necessary. Thank you.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tiffany May. My story has been shared on numerous issues during the legislation session. I'm the sole survivor of the car crash that killed 9 people on January 29, 2022. 7 people in one family. 4 of those people were children. The driver sped through a red light at 103 miles an hour while on multiple substances. I incurred some serious and permanent injuries from that crash, and I've also gone under multiple surgeries, including jaw surgery, just like Assemblywoman LaRue had. My life has changed completely. I've gone from being an extremely athletic person to someone who relies on daily assisted devices for daily living activities. At many points, I can't clothe myself and go to the bathroom on my own and eat and feed myself at times. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm really big on planning. I plan almost everything in my life. I was even prepared for death. I have life insurance. Had I died in that crash, sure, my family would have missed my presence, but they would have been covered financially. Everyone thinks that car crashes yield a payday, but I'm here to tell you that the driver only had a policy of $25,000. I received $5,000, and my first hospital night bill was like over $16,000. First, I was in critical condition care. Then I was transferred to rehab, and then it was up to me to navigate the healthcare system, which is extremely challenging, especially if you've been in a wreck. There are doctors who will not provide services to you because of how you got hurt. Appointments are far out, thus making it hard to get adequate care or even get someone to take off of work to take care of you if you can't get there on your own. So with that being said, I never even planned or thought about being prepared to live through such a horrific event. Neither was my family. I left home one day and didn't return home for weeks, racking up hospital bills, purchasing medical devices. My family and I actually lost work, losing a car, and the list goes on. There was no relief, no paid family leave. The bills stacked up and we were behind. I nearly faced homelessness.
Ma'am, I hate to interrupt you, but if you can please wrap up your testimony, your time has ended.
Thank you. Please support the bill.
Thank you. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Good morning, Chair Marzola. Afternoon now. Chair Marzola, members of the committee. My name is Denise Bolaños Heredia, Bolanos Heredia. I'm the Associate Director of Return Strong Nevada, and we would like to express our strong support for AB 388. Formerly incarcerated people often need to take whatever jobs they can because they're barred from many that offer these types of benefits. Without paid leave, a single illness or family emergency can cost them their job, pushing them into financial crisis and increasing the risk of recidivism. Paid leave is a second chance policy. It keeps people employed, housed, and on the path to success. I know this firsthand. Late last year, I was fighting for my life and was hospitalized for a month and then bedridden for 3 more. Because my employer at the time, Make the Road Nevada, provided paid leave, my family stayed housed and fed, and I can't imagine how someone without that security would have survived a similar situation. For these reasons and all the reasons that have been mentioned before me, I urge you to support AB 388. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. The time for the phone lines has ended, so anyone that is listening and wanting to testify, please submit your testimony in writing. We will come back to Carson City. The 3 of you will testify, and then afterwards, I will have everyone stand. Go ahead. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Ross Kinson for the record with the Northern Nevada Central Labor Council and Teamsters Local 533. I don't think any of you are surprised to see me sitting up here testifying in support of this on behalf of all of the members that I represent. This is really, really important legislation, and so I will say ditto, and please support this bill. Thanks.
Dawn Echeverry, President of the Nevada State Education Association, also in strong support. No educator should ever have to choose between their health, caring for a loved one, or financial stability.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Beverly Williams. I'm with Teamsters Local 986 and the Southern Nevada Central Labor Council. Ditto for AB 388. Thank you.
Thank you. For those who did not get to testify today in support, can you please stand? I want to again thank you so much for taking the time, coming here to Carson, being part of the process. I'm sorry that you did not get to testify. However, if you can please turn in your testimony in writing, I will make sure it's available for everyone. Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 388. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber would like to thank the proponents for meeting with the Chamber and sharing their position and why they're bringing the bill forward. However, the Chamber is opposed to Assembly Bill 388. The premise being that the implementation and funding of mandate paid leave programs can be costly to employers, potentially leading to reduced competitiveness and impact on staffing levels. It should be noted, though, many of our members offer as much generous paid time off they can, cash-direct leave programs, short-term disability, long-term disability, as they are able to do so. This mandate, we believe, would hinder attracting new business to the state, especially when compared to other states in the Intermountain West region. The Chamber concerns with the directive given the bill that these regulations granting paid leave would be liberal in its approach and does not take into consideration how to balance the requests of employees with the needs of running a business, with only sign that the policies cannot be a burden to the employee. The Chamber is concerned about the impact this bill would have on state and local government as taxpayers of the state in addition to the private sector. For example, in Section 4, for the state employees that change from 12 months to consecutive 90 days of service to qualify, and changes from 8 to 12 weeks is also something you typically do not offer employees the 9-day mark. We believe that should be collectively bargained and negotiated. The fiscal impact on business for having to pay 110% or 60% of their income is also a concern to employers and will be difficult to manage and predict each year. As you've seen from some of the fiscal notes on Nellis, for example, it is difficult to determine what the fiscal impact would be because you're not able to predict when an employee would need to use the program. This same case can be used for private employers as well. Also, the fact that the language is not given a timeline when an employee can request a leave is also a concern for employers and employees because someone will need to cover those duties and responsibilities. And the Chamber is also concerned in closing about the concerns about creating a private right of action against employers in state law, along with the proposed fines per violation. The Chamber believes these penalties are excessive in nature, and that is why we are objecting to AB 388 today, Madam Chair. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Brian Wachter with the Retail Association of Nevada. The retail industry supports the principle of paid leave and recognizes the value it provides to workers and their families. However, AB 388 imposes a rigid one-size-fits-all mandate that fails to reflect the operational realities of a diverse retail workforce. From our local shops to larger employers, retailers already offer a variety of paid leave policies tailored to their workforce needs. The bill's procedural and documentation requirements create significant administrative complexity, especially for small businesses, and increase legal exposure for technical missteps rather than bad faith actions. This approach risks turning well-meaning businesses into inadvertent violators without actually improving outcomes for workers. Moreover, the bill overlooks the structure of the retail sector, which relies heavily on part-time and seasonal employees, many of whom are students, seniors, and supplemental earners. Mandates like this could reduce opportunities for those workers or push businesses towards automation and reduced hours. At a time when retailers are already managing inflation, supply chain challenges, and rising operational costs, AB 388 adds another burden that may ultimately raise prices for Nevada families. When we think about how we are charging for labor and how a business is dealing with those labor costs, it's not just the additional labor of that employee who's on FML. There's also then the labor cost of having to replace that employee so that you can maintain your operational hours and you can make sure that you're still going. So you not only then would, under this bill, have to pay, in certain circumstances, 100% of their salary, you're now paying an additional 100% of another salary in order to be able to keep your doors open. And so we believe this is going to be a significant cost increase. To Mr. Muradkin's point, the fact that the state is unable to calculate what you believe your costs are going to be, these businesses are going to have to do that on the fly. And the way they're going to do that is raise the price of goods to Nevadans so that this is experienced by all citizens. For those reasons, we oppose this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Ann Silver, ANN-SILVER. I serve as CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, which serves over 2,300 businesses in northern Nevada, with a vast majority being small and mid-sized businesses. While we understand and empathize with employees who need time off to care for their families, we oppose AB 388 because it would impose significant financial and operational burdens on Nevada businesses. At a time when many are grappling with rising costs, increasing tariffs, and economic uncertainty, we cannot support this bill as written. Expanding paid family leave will disproportionately impact small businesses, currently affected by inflation and supply chain disruptions. When key employees are out for extended periods, small businesses struggle to maintain operations and meet customer demand. For some, passage of this bill will mean cutting hours, raising prices, or even reducing their workforce to stay afloat. 3 months of work for 3 months of paid non-work does not compute for smaller businesses that need to pay the individual and a replacement. This is a cost too much to make into a law. Forcing businesses to shoulder additional payroll costs would discourage job growth and the expansion of the businesses that provide all the goods and services we rely upon each day. For these reasons, the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce respectfully opposes 388 and urges the committee to consider a more balanced approach. We'd be happy to assist in revised language that recognizes the needs of employers and those who must take time away from work for personal reasons. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tomas Hammond, Tomas-Hammond, with Carrera, Nevada, here on behalf of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, the state's largest nonprofit economic development agency serving Clark County, here in opposition to AB 388. Our mission is to attract diverse, high-quality industries to Nevada and create good jobs for our residents, from advanced manufacturing, health services, computer and financial technologies, to innovative and scalable tech startups. However, the success of this work is heavily dependent on our ability to compete with other states for businesses and talent. Unfortunately, AB 388 undermines that competitiveness. Currently, around only 14 states, including New York, Washington, and Illinois, have a paid family medical leave program in place. Notably, surrounding states like California have similar programs. However, states like Utah, Arizona, Idaho, and Texas, which often attract employers from Nevada, do not have such mandates. AB 388 would place Nevada at a competitive disadvantage in this regard. Furthermore, the details matter. Many of the states with paid FMLA programs also impose personal income taxes, which Nevada does not. In addition, most of these states require employers and employees to contribute to a state-run program, generating funds available for paid leave. AB 388 is an outlier in that it would not require such a system and would place undue financial and administrative burdens on Nevada employers without providing them with a comparable framework. While we appreciate the work the bill sponsors underwent for this proposal, we strongly urge a reconsideration of AB 388, as passage would harm Nevada's ability to remain competitive and attract the businesses and jobs that are crucial for our state's economic success. Thank you.
Chair Marzola, members of the committee, my name is Joana Ontiveros, YOANA-ONTIVEROS, with Carrera, Nevada, on behalf of the Mechanical Contractor Association of Las Vegas and Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning Contractors National Association of Southern Nevada. We are here in opposition of 388 and ditto previous commenters.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, Pierczynski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents and also the State of Nevada Association of Providers who provide services to the intellectually disabled. And we want to thank, first of all, the sponsor of the bill. She's been so gracious about meeting with us. We are opposed to the bill at this time because both the schools and SNAP are federally and state funded, and this is an unfunded mandate. So we're happy to work with the sponsor on any amendments, but right now we oppose. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the record, Trey Abney, representing the hardworking job creators of NFIB Nevada. I will associate myself with the comments that came before me. While we do appreciate the exemption for businesses who employ fewer than 50 people, we cannot support this one-size-fits-all approach. You've heard me say over and over again that if you've met one small business, you've met one small business. Not every employer is interchangeable. You may have 50 employees who work for you, but only 1 or 2 accountants or HR professionals. If I may be blunt, if the government of the state of Nevada believes that it is important to pay people in this state to not work for 3 months, then the state of Nevada can pay for that. Now imagine the fiscal note on that. And I know in this building, we talked about it earlier, that bills with incredibly large fiscal notes or impacts to the state budget have a very hard time getting passed out of here. But we don't always seem to have the same concern for the fiscal notes that affect private sector job creators, and I think we should. And so we respectfully oppose this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, committee members, Victoria Supple, representing the Nevada Builders Alliance. We're here in opposition to AB 388. Specifically with building and construction trades, we're going to see these costs fall onto the consumers when housing is such an important topic at this time. It's going to affect Nevadans poorly. I'll echo the comments of the other speakers. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Andy McCam, the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. Let me begin by stating that we love our employees. Our success is entirely contingent upon them, and as part of that, we need to be able to provide robust pay and robust benefit programs for them. Just to give you a little context in terms of what we pay our workers and what that downstream overall industry impact is. On average worker at a franchise auto dealership makes $98,000 a year. So that's payroll of approximately $10.3 million per store, or industry-wide $1.2 billion. The reason I say that is this creates a significant contingent liability on our members. At a contingent liability that I would argue is probably, it couldn't be at a worse time. Everybody's reading the news. Our costs continue to go up, significantly so in the short term, or shortly, I should say, because of the impact of tariffs. But that being said, I think all the comments by my colleagues really summarized everything. But we would just simply say that this is a step just too far at probably the wrong time. So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time, and hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors. Reasons have already been stated. We're opposed to the bill as well.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. My name is Drianna Dimatulak. That's DRIANNA-DIMATULAC. I'm representing the Latin Chamber of Commerce today. I echo all of the concerns raised before me. We are concerned that our small business members will have a difficult time complying with the requirements of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Nicole Rourke, representing the Urban Consortium consisting of the cities of Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Reno, and Sparks. We are opposed to AB 388 for many of the same reasons as those that went before me. Specifically, the cities have concerns with the increased cost of covering paid leave when employees have exhausted their sick leave. As public employers, we have generous paid time off policies, which are collectively bargained, and we already provide FMLA in accordance with federal law. We also have concerns with including local government in Chapter 608, which is meant and reserved for private employers. For those reasons, we're opposed to AB 388. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Marzola, committee members. Misty Grimmer, GRIMMER, representing the Nevada Resort Association. I echo the sentiment of the speakers prior to me. As the state's largest employers, we have a significant amount of financial exposure if this bill were to pass. As others have already said, FMLA is already in place for large employers where we are required to hold the person's job for them. And so we are also in opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. My name is Jay Parmer, Jayparmer, appearing on behalf of the Nevada Manufacturers Association. Unfortunately, large manufacturers are not immune from employee shortages. In fact, in the state of Nevada today, if you have a high school diploma, there are jobs available in manufacturing throughout the state. It's difficult to replace a skilled laborer working on a manufacturing floor on short notice. Workplace safety and technical processes in manufacturers requires training, and the lack of notice in this bill would likely disrupt operations. Proper staffing of manufacturing floors for every shift is a necessity to meet the manufacturer's contractual obligations, which keeps all employees working. For these reasons, the Nevada Manufacturers Association is opposed to AB 388. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. Carrie Kramer on behalf of NAOP. Here in opposition to AB 388, we share and would like to echo the concerns of our business and trade partners. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and committee members. For the record, my name is Matthew Sauls, spelled S-A-U-L-S, here on behalf of the Nevada Trucking Association in opposition to AB 388. For the sake of time, I just want to echo the points made by the business community and voice our opposition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. We will move to Las Vegas. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg, O-S-T-E-R-B-E-R-G, and I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and our over 2,000 members, the majority of whom are small businesses, to express our opposition to AB 388. While ensuring employee well-being is an important goal, this bill places an undue burden on Nevada businesses, especially small businesses. AB 388 would force businesses to absorb additional financial burdens, whether by hiring temporary workers or paying costly overtime to cover for employees on leave. Small businesses, which operate on tight margins, would be disproportionately affected, making it harder for them to sustain operations and remain competitive. The financial strain imposed by these increased labor costs could lead to job cuts, reduced hours, or even business closures. Additionally, the bill's reduction of the employment requirement window and expansion of qualifying reasons for leave would pose significant operational challenges. Businesses would be left with little to no notice when employees take leave, causing workplace disruptions and lower productivity. Finally, AB 388 would impose severe penalties on businesses for compliance issues. Employers could face misdemeanor charges and fines for simple paperwork errors or procedural missteps. This punitive approach would negatively impact the business community rather than encourage businesses to develop best practices for leave management. For these reasons, we are opposed to AB 388. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 388?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 388, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers on the line to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. If you're testifying in neutral, please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, committee members, Brett Harris, Nevada Labor Commissioner. For the record, we have enforcement responsibilities in this bill, so wanted to be present and state our position as neutral.
Thank you. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 388?
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but we have no callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assembly member, would you like to give any final remarks?
Thank you so much, Chair. Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. Thank you all for taking the time to consider this incredibly important bill. We heard a lot of things in testimony, I think the most important of which were the stories from folks who need this desperately to care for themselves and their families. I did want to reiterate a couple things. Number one, this does not impact small businesses. That number was chosen on purpose to exclude them, and in fact only impacts 4% of Nevada businesses. The states that have already implemented paid family medical leave have not had skyrocketing prices, have not had businesses flee their states. They have been able to take care of their employees and still conduct business, which I think is really critical. And I would like to point out that there are many companies that currently offer greater than what this bill is requiring. IKEA offers 16 weeks of paid parental leave for everyone at 100% of their salaries. Citibank offers 16 weeks of paid family medical leave. Bank of America offers 16 weeks. And Google offers 18 weeks of paid leave after 90 days of employment. These are huge corporations that are making significant profits that have figured out how to take care of their workers and make a profit. It is not mutually exclusive. And so I just would like to close that this bill is an economic bill. It will lead to increased productivity, increased profits, lower turnover costs. It will increase public health so that people are not putting off critical health needs in order to continue working. It is a family-centric bill, and it is popular and it is needed. And I thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you for being with us today, and bringing forward this legislation. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 388. I will now open up for public comment. Please address remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify or to give public comment? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. Members, are there any comments before we adjourn? I don't see any. This concludes our meeting for this morning. I will see you promptly at 5 p.m. late this afternoon. This meeting's adjourned.